So I sat in my psychiatrist's office and walked out with two diagnoses I didn't expect: depression with adjustment disorder and adult ADHD on the same day at 59 years old. And the first thing I felt wasn't fear, it was relief. And I've been trying to figure out how to talk about that day ever since. So, hi, I'm Len, and I'm back. Let me explain. So, I made one video in November of 2024 and then went quiet. That part is 100% real. I wasn't entirely sure if it was a debilitating fear of failure causing me to completely overthink things, or whether it was simply procrastination and that I was continually putting this off. But it was genuinely hard to just show up, which quickly and eventually became paralyzing for me. But I'm back. I'm going to try to keep going. I also want to try to mention the channel has a new name. It used to be called Len Incognito, my name, which was honestly just a placeholder as I wasn't sure what this was going to actually be. It's now called Managing Life After 50 because that's actually what it is. Same channel, same video, new name, and a much clearer sense of what I'm doing here. But before I get into what's next, I need to go back to where things got hard and especially difficult because I think it's actually the most important part of my story. Like most of us in our 50s or 60s, having raised kids, going through a lengthy career, I really was no different. I had spent the better part of my 30s and 40s married, raising three boys, coaching sports, was actively involved as a leader in their Cub and Boy Scout troops, and basically just trying hard to juggle work-life balance. And during that time, I worked in academic medical research full time and in the biopharma industry as a research scientist. I then transitioned to IT, first as a business analyst and later as an R&D consultant, and remained doing that till just the past few years. I suppose from the outside, I looked like someone who had it together and that I really knew what I was doing. The pressure to appear strong, capable, not struggling, to just work harder and don't show weakness, especially as a man. It was in many ways the predominant mindset and the mentality, especially with Filipino culture. And I think a lot of Asian American families know this. You don't really talk about mental health. You push through, you provide. You don't sit in a doctor's office and say, I'm not okay. So even after the job layoff, even when things were falling apart inside and starting to go sideways, I kept performing okay on the outside. In January of last year, I found myself simply unable to get off the couch. Day after day soon became week after week. I was just sitting there, usually watching TV, and I just felt almost paralyzed, and I couldn't figure out exactly why. Just a bunch of completely random thoughts going through my head. Now, often, as is the case that time of year, I was thinking it was just the winter blues. There was no sun, really. It was bitterly cold outside. Who really wants to go out there and do anything? I said to myself. I certainly didn't feel like seeing anybody or doing anything in particular. Became content with just sort of lounging around the house. And it wasn't until my wife eventually came up to me and said, Len, you really need to talk to somebody about what's going on with you. And so I did. I called several places and found a mental health group and a psychiatrist and scheduled appointments as soon as they could see me. I explained my situation, what happened to me over the last couple of years, the passing away of my parents, the job loss, the selling of our family home of over 50 years, and the challenges of simply getting older and coping with life on the verge of turning 60. To be honest, I wasn't even sure what I was going in for, so I certainly didn't go in expecting two diagnoses. When my psychiatrist described inattentive ADHD, the difficulty sustaining focus, the half-finished projects, the sense of always being slightly out of sync, I didn't feel crazy. I actually felt seen. For the first time in nearly 60 years, someone was describing a pattern I'd lived with my whole life and giving it a name. I thought ADHD actually was a condition that mostly children, mostly teens or young adults were diagnosed with, not someone in their 40s or 50s. And of course, the adjustment disorder and the depression diagnosis made sense too. I had lost family members, my career, my structure, my professional identity, practically all at once. So of course that broke something. After the end of that first session, I didn't feel broken, actually. I felt like finally I had a map. Now, it didn't fix things, and certainly not overnight, but at least I knew what I was dealing with, and I could finally move forward knowing what I now know. I'm sharing this because I think a lot of people, especially Filipino Americans, but especially many men in their 50s and in their 60s, are probably sitting with something they haven't named or even identified yet. And they're suffering quietly because either the culture told them to, because they're too afraid, they're too proud, or don't want to show weakness or vulnerability. I know, I completely get it. Getting a diagnosis isn't a weakness, in my honest opinion. It's information, important information, but it's simply that, a diagnosis. And like any diagnosis, I wanted to take proactive steps to simply get better. Heck, to just function normally and get back on track. It took weeks, really months of speaking with a therapist for me to find different ways of managing my ADHD and my depression. There was a pretty long road ahead in recovery. I knew this, and coping and managing my life. I still have to get up each day and still move forward with things for myself and for my wife. So each and every day is no longer a major burden for me. I'm able to accomplish a number of things daily using a number of different techniques. I've sort of built into my day like CBT, like meditation. I do have a rather strict diet and moderate exercise protocol that I follow. And a couple of other important things, all of which I'll go into more detail in future videos. And sure, there's still challenges, and each day isn't close to being perfect. I still have some difficulty following up on things. I get easily distracted. I get angry and frustrated and run off course on occasion. But now I manage to get back on track a little easier than I did before. And I'm sure that if you're going through a similar situation, you'll either do the same or already making the changes needed to succeed and move forward positively with your own life. Now, this is part of why I started this channel, and it's part of why I stopped. And it's part of why I'm back. So what's next? Well, right now, I'm also building a photography business of luxury portraits and personal branding. And I'm going to be documenting a little bit of that too here. If you're over 50, if you've been laid off, if you're Filipino or Asian American and tired of not seeing your story in these conversations, this channel might be for you. Leave a comment if something I said hit home. Yes, I will read every comment. And if you're inclined, please subscribe if any of this resonates with you. And for many of you, do know that you're definitely not alone in this, and there are many, many people out there who are going through the same thing. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.